So yesterday you might have seen this video kind of pop up in your sub box for about a minute. I had to take it down because I didn't realize it recorded like this when it was supposed to be looking like this. And that being said, I've got to kind of redo it. But regardless, though, the information obviously is still pretty good. What this video is, though, if you're wondering, I guess, because I can't speak apparently. It is my top 5 personal, my biggest word there, my personal top 5 wish list for EZAs for LRs in the future. So we're going to talk about this. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hit that subscribe, of course, if you guys are new for more content on the channel. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit the video like goal, which is 1,000 likes. Also, let me know in the comment section down below some things you guys would like to see me discuss, wish lists, things like that you guys would like to see on the channel. So the first thing I want to kind of mention is I didn't forget about any unit, okay? That's the main thing. You may not see a unit you want to see get an EZA on my list, but I didn't forget any unit. I went over every single LR in this list, right? Also, I do have this whole thing where I've been around for the release in-game live for every single one of these units as a player that's been playing the game for years and years. I have seen all these units kind of have their rise and then also their fall as newer units come out, power creep, things of that nature. So there are units that I also have that kind of I hold dear to my heart that I want to see kind of excel in the game. That's why I said, again, my top 5 list. Couple of caveats I want to throw out in terms of units. Honorable mention does actually go to this card because I think they can be really interesting. Like, androids is the category that can always use more options. They always are going to be in kind of like a weird spot, right? So this card also does not share a name with the physical one. The physical one has a dash Android 16 for the exchange mechanic. So you pick up another really solid option for that team and you'd be able to function a lot better. Now, one thing that's a trend with these older cards like this card actually doesn't really need a ton of work. It's just a lot of these older cards you're going to see, they either have this flat boost thing on their passive or like they don't have natural defense or some sort of combination of both. Today's day and age, these units need natural defense at the start of the turn to be relevant. That's just how it is, right? And you can even see some units that are pretty solid that pick up defense on super attacks still kind of suffer from this, even though they're good units, right? So you want to see that in general. And then the flat boost thing, the thing about that is I would say that I would just abolish it entirely because it doesn't age as well as you would like it to, unless it's some sort of massive crazy boost, at least offensively like Broly. He still can output some really good damage, especially when you factor in multiple attacks and things like that. But he has a whopping 80 freaking thousand, right? So like that's a very, very substantial boost in relation to this unit who's at 15, for example. So unless it's something crazy like that, they pretty much need to do away with it. I am skeptical, however, because we have units like Cell, who's one of our most recent examples. I don't know what the idea is with Prime Battles, if they'd actually even change that, because they're all flat boost. Even when Cell came out, they knew flat boosts were no longer relevant like that, but they still gave it, right? So it's kind of weird, but I want to kind of function differently. So what I will say is all the Prime Battle units, including Cell by this metric, could use an EZA to just switch over to being percentage-based because that does age better in this game style. Now, on top of that, though, there are other older LRs that have been relevant in the game at one point, being named as like the best unit or the hardest hitter. A couple of examples: Tech, SS3 Goku, Int Gohan. These are units that can still output damage with the best of them. Like, I've had these units still even recently doing crap tons of damage. The problem is they just need defense. And also, a unit like this guy, negative defense is not it. Like, this is not it, okay? If he gets the Ultra Super, he's at a huge defensive deficiency. That's just not where the game is anymore. Now, I'm not advocating offensively that he needs any change. Neither am I for Gohan. These are just a couple of examples. Same goes for Broly. These older LRs could definitely use tweaks in terms of that. So there are Prime Battles, those older LRs, like also like this guy right here, like these guys, I guess, they need it too. They even at some point lower their own stats with these. This is not good ideas anymore in this gameplay. Like, it's just not how the game is anymore, right? For the most part, anyway. But that being said, those are a couple of caveats. Those are not a part of my list. So we're officially going to jump in to my list. I just wanted to make sure that we were all aware. No, I didn't forget anybody. If they're not a part of my list, it's because they just weren't a part of my list. The World Tournament units need EZAs, all that stuff. There's a bunch of them. So the actual number 5 on my list is Piccolo. So Piccolo is a funny one. Came out 2016, had HP plus 150. I remember this leader skill being so relevant back then because there was not even a single leader skill in the game game that came close to being this good, and you had this combination of that with the defensive passive and support passive he has that allows for him to be, or allowed at the time for him to be one of the better, more drawn out ways, obviously because you're suffering for key and also like attacks and stuff, but you could clear most content of the game with this guy as your leader and then Piccolo friend. It would just take a long time, right? The game was a very different game back then. 2015, 2016, the game was incredibly different back then. I'm talking key supers, like the units, the key that these units get like built into their passives, like all the key links, things are so different now. Like I remember struggling to get supers most of the time, right? So that being said, Piccolo's in an interesting spot. Now for him, I think that they should still stick to a defensive focus. If you take a look at his super attacks, he has no sort of effects on there, which I think is criminal. I think that you can change that and give him either the ability to raise attack or defense or both, right? Limitlessly on the 12 key super. In general, just give him that on the 12 key super to where he functions similarly a little bit to LR Vegito Blue STR type, the older one, where he's able to do that and get that as a viable option. If you want to stack, you can do that. Now on the 18 key super, you can give him a defense raise that's great, and then also greatly lower the enemy's defense. We're seeing these types of trends with newer units lately, and that would function well for him, I think, because you still keep the large defensive focus. Now, what I will do is I'll actually kind of flip him over here to being a percentage-based unit, which I don't really want to do that much in this video, but that's just, again, they're not bad unless you give a very whopping amount of, like, flat boosts, but I don't want to flip them over too much, but I feel like they kind of have to, right? So in terms of the defensive passive, I'm going to say he gets 100% defense at the start of the turn. We can even give him 100% attack as well at the start of the turn. And then all allies get another, let's say, 30% defense. So you have an interesting situation where he's still largely defense-oriented, especially when you factor in the raise on super attack. And he'll be one of the best tanks in the game, just like he initially was on release, because he's got a whopping 18,000 defensive stat. You give him 100% more at the start of the turn. He also benefits from the 30% the allies would pick up, not to mention any other like type of additional part of the passive. They've been playing with passive ideas. Like you take a look at LR, Broly, Chia, and Lemmo. They play with that type of support passive type of idea. They've been doing things with like the key meter with like LR Rose. Like they've been doing interesting things. So I don't really want to delve too deep into that because I really don't know their thought process. But I can tell you the bare bones version of how this unit will become. He'd hit decently hard, but still have access to some solid defensive support and be one of the best tanks in the game in general with just a raw defensive stat when you factor all of that stuff in. You can even give him the ability, if you really want to make him one of the best tanks in the game, at least a chance to guard against enemy attacks. That'd be crazy good for this guy, which also would fit the mantra for Piccolo here, right? This is why they kind of made it, because obviously this scene, this art, all of that stuff. So I would not be opposed to that in terms of Piccolo. Where he is concerned, let me know in the comments down below how you guys would buff Piccolo in any capacity. I want to just, when I ask you guys that, I want to have it be within reason. I don't want the units to be beyond broken or like things like that. Even though some units do exhibit that, I want to just give them the benefit of the doubt that they generally, most of the time, try to balance these units. Most of the time, right? Especially lately, units have been kind of crazy for the anniversary, but hey, it is what it is. Anyways, next one on the list, where there's a Piccolo, there is a Gohan as well. So this Gohan, he's interesting because the other super bad road units, I think, had their shine, and they're still in some ways really good, especially Goku, because Goku as a support type makes him quote-unquote splashable, meaning he can be on multiple teams and serve that role viably. Gohan is an interesting one because he suffers from multiple things I've talked about that are not good mechanics in the game. For one, he loses his defense. He also has flat boosts, and is unlike Piccolo, who has some of the best links, by the way, among Piccolo cards in the game. He's got Prodigies, which is good, Brainiacs, which is really good. First Awakened, by the way, a very underrated and very powerful link in the game. It's not on a lot of units, unfortunately, but if you can get it, it's a very good link. There's that. He has Shocking Speed, Experience. He's got a really good link set, especially alongside other Gohans, like the Int Gohan. He can be alongside him, get access to Gaze of Respect, Shocking Speed, and then you have this real cool dichotomy where these units are kind of linking well enough, also supporting, which also does help patch up a little bit of this guy's defensive issues, right? So like Piccolo can be really good. Now this guy, he doesn't have the same benefit. So we take a look at the passive for him. That's the main thing. Actually, let's jump to the links really quick. He has some good stuff. The Innocence is good. Same War Race is decently common. It's not a good link. It needs to be updated though. All in the Family is a good link for defense, and it's very common among Goku family type units, or even all the categories he's on. That's a very common link he can get in most cases, I'd say. Anyways, though, we take a look at the Saiyan lineage. Again, another link that's around sometimes. Not a ton, but in Goku family you can get it. Alongside Z Fighter, same type of deal. Now, Berserker is an interesting one. He's not really able to get this very often. The good news is he does have a couple of other Gohan friends that do have the link. Actually, hold on. No, I have to take that out because he can't actually be... Nope, never mind. He's never really able to get this unless he's alongside like Broly and stuff. This is not a link he's ever able to get because his name is Gohan, and they kind of shafted this card by giving it just Gohan in the name as opposed to making it Gohan and Icarus. Anyways, so... Berserker is an interesting one because it does play into the passive where he picks up an attack increase, lowers his own defense, but also same type of deal here. When you're below 50%, you get another 20% if you can get this link off. So let's just kind of cut to the chase. He has a rare chance to stun. This needs to jump up to medium chance at least, so he's able to get that. Rare is just not good enough. Make it medium at least, right? 2 turns is solid, but ideally it has to feel rewarding to get that. Also, I'm going to completely do away with this idea of losing all of your defense. He loses all of his defense if he's low, right? And I get the idea, the design choice, especially when you look at the super attack, the 18-key super, but like, nah, I'm not doing all that, right? I want to make him meta-relevant to the game currently. So I don't really think they'll give him an effect on the 12-key super, but if they do, I'm always going to opt to say at least give a 1-turn defense raise, whether it's great or not, right? Now, the 18-key super is fine for the most part. Greatly raising attack for 1 turn is solid, but if you really want to make him good, give him also the defense raise. Because the apes are tanky too, right? Like, make it a thing, right? Give him attack and defense, greatly raising for 1 turn, and he's solid. You don't have to give him any other effect. That's it. Passive skill. He gets 10,000 defense at the start of the turn. Another thing is he has no attack. He doesn't get the key self-sufficiency if he's above 50%, which is not conducive. How are you going to make him need to be low on HP but give him defense? That's not a conducive passive. It doesn't work that way, right? If anything, you need to flip-flop it to where he has no defense so you can take damage better, right? It doesn't make sense. So what I would say is at the start of the turn, just give him the ability to get defense and attack, right? Let's just say if they want to stick to flat boosts, you can give him 50,000 attack and defense. Give him that at the start of the turn. And then when you're below 50%, give him the whopping 5 key, give him more attack, another 50,000, and then you could take off, let's say, 10,000. Just stay at 10,000. You can make it more if you want to, but stay at 10,000. And that's if they stick to flat boost type of ideas. But ideally, I like to see them just flip-flop this to, say, like 70% attack and defense at the start of the turn for the unit. And then when you dip lower, get an additional 5 key, and then let's say another 70% attack, and then lose 10% of your defense. Because I do think it's true. You still want to stick to some of what they had initially, but I wouldn't take all of his defense away. That's the thing. He needs to keep some of it. But to be fair, if he greatly raises defense on the super, it's not as bad. It's just he's going to struggle to get the ultra super anyway if you're above the threshold. Like, it's just hard for him to get that. He doesn't have the requisite key links. He needs buddies to support him. His best team could ultimately wind up being Hybrid Saiyans alongside the Awakening for this physical Gohan that offers 3 key and support whenever that happens. You know which one I'm talking about. The one from the physical type banner. It's not loading, but that could be his best team ultimately, right? Because he needs stuff like that. He needs buddies that can help him out. So you can't really benefit from the ultimate super kind of raising the 18-key. I don't know why I say ultimate. The raising of the defense from that too much. So I don't want to take too much away from him, right? So, okay, let's move on to our top 3 technically in the video. And like I said, there are some fun units in this list that definitely need love, but one of them I want to stick to is another free unit, quote-unquote. And the problem with some of the free units in general, like the Gohan, is that depending on how they're acquired, they don't get links that otherwise would be solid, like Shattering the Limit, right? So we have a unit here who's meant to be a tank and then has a great chance to get offensive capability. That's basically the design choice. Now, if you look at the links here, this unit actually links pretty well, especially in terms of key, which does help it out in the Majin Buu saga. Now, Majin Buu saga is a category that needs love in general. I think that team definitely could stand to use a couple more options. By the way, let me know how you guys feel about design choices for all the units in the comments down below. What would you do? Right. Anyways, so long story short, he has good links on that team. He'd be able to pick up Soul versus Soul, which actually, hold on, this is a Cell link. Never mind. Yeah, it's not the same. He's kind of in multiple things here. He's got the Cell link and then also got some other stuff like Supreme Power. That's an interesting design choice. Anyways, Golden Z Fighter, 2-key link, mainly Majin Buu Saga units that are there that are solid Innocence is kind of whatever. You can get that alongside Majin Buu units. Also, you can pick up Shattering the Limit decently well, especially among the cards like this one that have access to that saga as well. He has some solid options, long story short. Hero is actually a good defensive link. You just can't really get it too often on this team, but in the future, who knows what happens ultimately. But, okay, so the 18 key super is fine. 50% for 3 turns, a great raise of defense for 3 turns. I'll take that, especially if you happen to, you know, have the unit on rotation. You can get a couple of stacks before it starts wearing off. That's good, right? You definitely want to get that. Now, what I will say is the 12 key super. If they make the 12 key super, you can bump it to medium chance, but if they make the 12 key super have the ability to limitlessly stack defense, just raising normally every time around, that would be huge because additional attacks default to 12 key supers, and if that happens, you have a situation where a unit can stack defense between multiple super attack capabilities, one of which is going to be a very potent one. One's going to be a little bit weaker, but then stick around for the most part. And if you do that, I really don't think you need to give a start of the turn boost that much. I do think that you want to stick to giving these units those start of the turn boosts because it does help them in terms of being relevant, especially if you're putting them like the front spot or things like that. If you give him the ability to do this on super only to get defense, he's relegated to second or third spot only, which to be fair could be his best spot anyway because he's not an offensive threat really for the most part. And if we take a look at the passive, he has no ability to have any sort of offense unless he gets this to proc. 30% of the time, you're not going to get this. And I think that's not great, right? You got to at least give him some sort of start of the turn offensive boost and then make it to where 70% chance to get the additional part of that. Let's take a look at an idea of a unit that I had that actually has a similar type of deal. Not really, but kind of sort of similar. This Videl here, right? So she had a chance to offer support. Great chance. 70% for all allies, 20%. Okay, well, how did her awakening turn out? It kind of stayed the same. She got a start of the turn boost based on the number of allies on the team, up to 3 key and 60%, but then she keeps the same type of deal here, a 70% chance, right? So if we're sticking to the idea of keeping a 70% chance, you could follow a similar template to giving, even if you want to make it to where he's on Majin Buu Saga team, whatever the case is, and literally rip that part of Videl's passive away and kind of give it to Hercule, that works too. But you have to apply some sort of start of the turn boost. And this is meant to be, if you get really lucky, you also get this super self-sufficient key super here, which makes getting your 18 key super easier to get. But I do think, again, at least need some sort of start of the turn boost and offensive viability, even if it's something minuscule, like 50% attack at the start of the turn, and then also another 50% at the start of the turn for defense, and then if you get 70% chance, you get another 50% attack and 7 key. Something minuscule like that would be fine. A problem with this card, though, is that the stats are very low. This is not a good defensive stat per se, especially when you look at another unit like Piccolo, who's sitting at like 18,000 defense, right? That's such a huge disparity when you start factoring in these leader skills and stuff. And so this unit kind of really needs as much defensive investment as possible in terms of maintaining the same playstyle. So let's get down to my bottom 2, my top 2 technically. All right, so the Ginyu Force. I have been around, like I said, for the release of all these units, and this unit actually has some shockingly good potential. I think that there are a couple of really good tools here if they do this right. If they make it to where it sticks to being a rainbow support type and not relegating any parts of this passive to being, oh, Ginyu Force category allies only get the attack and defense boost or whatever that they may potentially apply, but all allies get 3 key, things like that. If they don't restrict it in different ways like that, this unit can be very good, specifically on Join Forces. Now, it's going to be really good on like Namek Saga or like Ginyu Force type teams, whatever, but Join Forces is a really interesting team because Join Forces is still waiting for their real leader, right? And they can definitely use another good support unit like this kind of on that team off rotation. Again, good tools here. Raises defense on the 18 key super for your allies. Now, that's a lot more beneficial if it's for either 2 turns or if this unit's in the front spot. Ideally, I would have that bumped up to 2 turns, right? Make it for 2 turns and you're good to go. And speaking of Join Forces and kind of what I don't so much want to see in terms of the support unit that unit could become is this one. I love this unit. It's a really good unit. In fact, you could almost do a similar thing and make this unit kind of mirror that one, right? You can kind of do something similar, but I don't want that because this unit offers a very whopping passive boost, but only for super class units, right? I don't want to see that for these guys because this passive boost is really good for most of Join Force's team, right? But what I will say is they don't have a ton of options. They've got that guy. They've got like Paragus and Broly. They can definitely, they have some good ones. They have Zamasu and Gowasu. But like depending on how powerful the Ginyu Force is, that would be a really good one here. Especially having like legendary power. That's another thing that you can kind of tie in. But I would just say for this one, I don't know if they need start of the turn. But if you want to give it to them, again, 80% attack and defense at the start of the turn. And then all allies get 3 key and 40% attack. Make that happen, and then coupling that with the 18 key super for 2 turns, now you got something crazy on your hands. This unit would be one of the better free units in the game and would fit any role on any team you want it to be on perfectly fine. I'm talking about being very good on teams like Conquest of Terror, Join Forces, Dragon Ball Seeker, teams that actually need more options too, like Ginyu Force. You have a really good option in your hands. So I would love to see some love for this card, especially being the very first LR from Battlefield, also being unavailable after Battlefield dropped for like a year for everybody, unless you already got him the first time around. Like, I want to see some love for that card. Speaking of love, I got to wrap it up here. The very first LR. Now, everything I say about Prime Battle units applies to all of them, right? He deserves it, so do all the other Prime Battle units, right? The World Tournament units all deserve it, not just Piccolo. It's kind of this running theme with these free LRs where they're purposely doing it. Again, you look at TN, LRTN, same type of deal. We don't want flat boosts, but they do it intentionally, right? So if I were to flip him to being an attack-oriented unit, because that's what his passive is designed to do, 10,000 attack and 3,000 defense, but percentage-based, how would I do it? Let's take a look at that. So the 12-key super, I would love if they just gave him an attack and defense stack, even if it's just for 1 turn, because again, having an effect on the 12-key super is huge for LRs because their additional attacks always route to being the 12-key super if it's a super attack, right? So huge there. Also, make the 18-key super do 35% like AGL Vegito, or make it go 2 turns like Great Saiyaman does, right? Make that happen, one of those 2 things. 2 turns actually is preferred, to be honest, because it does benefit the following turn, which is huge, right? Preferred, but if not, 35 is huge. That'll also impact the 12 to 17 key super if you get an additional, which is huge. Again, I can't stress that enough, right? We take a look at Crucial Battle, the passive skill, right? I haven't really talked much about link sets on these units, but this guy's a good one. I'm going to get to that. But all these units pretty much have solid link sets in some way. So let's give him 100% attack at the start of the turn, and then 50% defense at the start of the turn. And then you can also give him the ability, if you really want to give him love, this is how you do it. Because with EZAs, they don't change link sets on units. He does predate Prepare for Battle for the most part. The link was not in the game, I believe, at all. It didn't come in until, like, what, Turles? I think it was Turles. Anyways, it was not in the game pretty much at all, and it definitely wasn't given to every unit like it is now, basically, for the most part. If you want to give him love, though, you make him give him the ability to produce his own Rainbow Orbs, because he needs that. He's an LR that's going to struggle big time to get any sort of Ultra Supers at all, right? So you give him that if you really want to show him some love. On top of that, though, another thing you can do is when facing one enemy specifically, give him key self-sufficiency, like 3 key, 5 key, something like that, and then a further increase to his stats as well, and then he'd work out really good there. And if you really want to give him love, you EZA his best friend in the game. Who is that, you may wonder? There's one unit that always was relevant alongside him that's waiting on an EZA. Here he is. You have access to the First Awaken. You have access to Orb Generation, which is huge for that guy because he really wants to get his Ultra Super as much as possible. We mentioned how he struggles. You have access to Super Saiyan. You have access to Golden Warrior. You would have access to, actually, that's pretty much it. But anyways, you have access to all the links you need. Unless there's another link I'm missing there, which is totally possible. But you have all the links you need for the most part. You have access to key support. Oh, Family Ties, which is a key link. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have that too. That's good, man. You just EZA his best friend too, and you're good to go. So there you have it, everyone. Again, if you guys enjoyed it, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Today's video like goal is 1,000. These types of videos can actually be kind of hard to do in one kind of take. I've done everything in one take, all at the top of my head. But I hope you guys did find some enjoyment in this, and you guys appreciated the video as well. Let me know, again, for any of these units, how you guys would design them, changes you would make. I want to say within reason, right? Within reason, with that you could see actually happening in the game, and not like for anniversary, right? Anyways, so thank you all for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed today's video, hit that subscribe, of course, if you're new, and I'll catch all of you guys in the next one.